The Ethereum Harvesting Unit. To the layman, it's not terribly impressive, just a metal box with a canister in it, quietly sitting there, sucking in airborne Ethereum particles. But there is a reason my science teams risk their lives to place these units across the zone. With Ethereum concentrations greater in the Ural Mountains than anywhere else on Earth, these harvesting units are absolutely vital in our race against the Soviets to harness the power of the dark ether. Once filled, each canister must be collected for rocket transport to international waters. We considered other modes of travel, but rockets really are the quickest, cleanest way to get the samples out of the outbreak zone. Which is not to say retrieving these canisters is easy. They are heavy, cumbersome things, and once disengaged from the harvesting unit, there is a limited amount of time to get them to the rocket before the samples degrade. They also draw hostiles like flies to honey. I have lost more than a few people on collection duty. I have therefore requested that Field Op Strike Teams support all future canister retrieval efforts.
This is Dr. Elizabeth Gray, with a few thoughts on the new specimen analyzer stations. We're using them to run field tests on undead anatomy, specifically genetic mutations and structural changes in the cerebral cortex. It's a rather grisly affair, severing some poor infected bloke's head and putting it in a jar for a proper soft tissue mapping and DNA sequencing. But if we can identify the root stimuli and catalysts for all these physical transformations, we'll be one step closer to preventing them. Unfortunately, those heads aren't quite deceased, and they seem to call out to the other infected in the area. I say this because the creatures always come running whenever we perform a scan. Not quite sure if they're trying to rescue their fellow deadhead, or if it's more like sharks sensing an injured fish, but I'm working on a way to insulate the unit so that the sample's distress won't draw unwanted attention. Until then, my unnatural sciences teams may require some rather robust protection to operate the Dark Ether specimen analyzer.
Our strike team has taken down a lot of different hostiles, some bigger and badder than others. Every encounter is a risk to life and limb, but as far as my containment and security division is concerned, we learn the most from their engagements with apex-level threats, the Dark Ether's high-value targets, for lack of a better term. So we've come up with a way to guarantee they'll be tangling with an HVT. It's an energy cannon platform parked in a geosynchronous orbit over the Ural Mountains. When an uplink station is activated, the satellite fires a dimensional disruptor beam that literally pulls an HVT out of the Dark Ether into the AO. Strauss gave me a bit of grief when I suggested we call them HVTs. He still sees this enemy as a disorganized mob, but I see a hierarchy at work, and the top dogs are calling the shots. Of course, I may be reading too much into it, but even if these apex threats are as brain dead as their foot soldiers, the more of them we kill, the better.
Energy Research voice memo to Requiem Strike Team from Dr. Oscar Strauss. Subject: the proper care and feeding of essence conversion modules. First, the modules are currently in orbit. You must call them down with the launch control station we've already placed in the outbreak zone. Trust me, it's simple enough that even someone like you can use it. Once they land, the modules will absorb the essence of any infected you kill nearby. All you have to do is, well, what you do best. When they have reached full charge, that is when things get interesting. The unit's internal lab exposes the essence to refined Ethereum crystals. This establishes a connection with the objects in the Dark Ether dimension through a process called quantum entanglement. In layman's terms, The essence you collect is transformed into a dark ether object. It's our way of examining the contents of our parallel reality without requiring you to go there. You're welcome. Now get to work.
The recon rover. Ugh, this is a tough one for me. I mean, yes, I recognize the absolute need to send monkeys into the dark ether. It's the only way to record that dimension's effects on the physiology, and it's certainly a lot less risky than sending in my people, but I really do need to stop naming those monkeys. Anyhow, here's how it works. We leave a dark ether recon rover parked in an area where we've recorded instability in the dimensional membrane. Our strike team activates the rover, and then do their best to keep the nasties off until it can successfully enter a rift and start sending back telemetry. The data we're getting is remarkable. I'm starting to understand how Ethereum transmutes living organisms on a cellular level. We've even recorded the specific moment when the subject starts metabolizing Ethereum to continue functioning post-mortem. It's just difficult reviewing the data. They scream once they cross over. A lot. And then they go quiet. And then they start to laugh.
We've identified certain Ethereum crystal structures in the outbreak zone that the lab coats are calling power nodes. They're the biggest crystals out there, almost beautiful in their own way. But if what the experts are telling me is true, they are scary as hell. My people have determined these power nodes are here to fundamentally alter the environment. It's a process they call terraforming. Basically, they're slowly transforming the air and ground around them to make it more hospitable to the creatures crossing over from the dark ether. They do this by continually releasing Ethereum in its gaseous form. And we know that the only thing keeping those monsters inside the outbreak zones is their proximity to an Ethereum source. They wander too far away, and they drop dead. We've recorded all this on our instruments, but you don't need any equipment to know how powerful one of those crystals is. All you have to do is get up close to a power node, and it feels like, I don't know, like the shrooms are kicking in. Yeah, I said it. I saw some shit in Nam. But nothing that messed with your head as bad as this. So I've made it a priority for our strike teams to blow them up whenever they find one. No fucking way we're gonna just let these things turn Earth into their favorite vacation spot.
Strike team, I want to thank you on behalf of everyone here for what you accomplished in Vietnam. The intel you recovered from Omega Group is already paying off in new technology and weapons. This is especially important as we launch operations in the Ural Mountains. The AO you've entered is richer in Ethereum than anywhere else on the planet. But Omega is already hard at work there. Never forget, we are in a race against time to harness the Dark Ether before they do. The winner of this Ethereum arms race may well be decided by your actions here. So, we can't fuck this up. Weaver out. Just want to be clear on what's expected from you. Every department at Requiem has a stake in this. Energy research, unnatural sciences, security and containment. They all have special equipment in the field that we need you to test. Strauss, Gray, and Carver will give you the details at the appropriate time, and I expect you to follow their instructions to the letter. Remember, these experiments and operations aren't busy work. They're important. They're how we eventually win. Some of you have asked, repeatedly, about Agent Maxis. I get it. You risked your life to save her, then weeks went by with no word on her condition. I get it. Well, I'm finally authorized to let you know she's recovering. At least, physically. She's been under observation in an isolation ward, getting the best care the agency can provide, but she went through things in the Dark Ether that would have broken most people. It's a miracle she survived. She's not infected, she's on the mend, and everything you went through to bring her back, absolutely worth it.